Over the weekend, we witnessed Hezbollah try to attack Israel, but because of their Iron Dome, they were able to stop and protect this attack from causing too much damage. It's amazing, and America should have the same exact technology. Also in the news, we have the hypocrisy from Democrats is so strong that even Jon Stewart has to talk about it on his self-proclaimed comedy show, quote unquote. All of that and more on today's episode.
Facts over tracks, isn't that spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
So digging right in, we have the most important thing that happened during the weekend, and that's the Hezbollah attack on Israel. Now, of course, there's the war going on in Israel. We already have been talking about that for the last few months since October, few months by almost a year now, so 10 months or so. This war has been going on. Last October, obviously, it started, and before that, there was conflict brewing between those two countries, Hezbollah or Hamas versus Israel, and obviously Iran goes and donates money to those terror tentacles through the Middle East so they can go and attack Israel some more. And of course, it was Hezbollah's turn to do so. The Israel Defense Force, the IDF, shot down hundreds of rockets and drones fired early Sunday morning by Iranian-backed Hezbollah terrorists in the southern Lebanon. Approximately 100 fighter jets with the Israel Air Force struck more than 40 launch areas, preventing what officials said was a much larger imminent attack in which Hezbollah was preparing to fire as many as 6,000 rockets and drones at Israel. Most of these launchers were aimed towards northern Israel, and some were aimed toward central Israel, the IDF said. The attack from Hezbollah came in a response to Israel killing Fuad Shukr late last month. Shukr was Hezbollah's most senior military commander and the head of its strategic unit, and Hezbollah's Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah's right-hand man. In the more than 10 months since Hamas's October 7th terrorist attack, Hezbollah has fired more than 6,700 rockets, missiles, and explosive drones at Israel communities, leading to hundreds of thousands being displaced from their homes. Now, of course, there's something different than trying to target terrorists, which actually embed themselves into the general population, and having terrorists in its own military complex, and then you specifically targeting citizens. Those are two completely different things. Obviously, when you're trying to target the terrorists, and the terrorists are embedding themselves within the general population, that is a war crime. And since the beginning of time, we said, listen, you cannot do this as a country because that is disgusting for you to do so. It's not right for you to do so. And it's a disgrace for you to do so. So since the beginning of time, we've always said that. We've always had this opinion to hold those people accountable for embedding themselves within the general population. But of course, now we're not going to actually hold them accountable. Instead, what we're going to sit here and say, no, it's okay, you can do so. No, it's not okay for anybody to hold terrorists, which are committing war crimes, and embed them in the general population, because now the general population has to go and pay for the acts of those terrorist causing people. So of course we know that we do not hold our military officers, even in the United States. If you were to relate this to America, we do not hold our military within the general population. The military has its military bases at which they are placed in, and they have military bases that they live in, and it's a whole entire complex. And they're actually there at the base, but they're not in New York City. They're not in actual citizen areas. It's a total different area. Just in case if another country was to attack a military base, the military base is the thing that would be the target. It's not just of course, if somebody like a terrorist wanted to cause harm and cause terror on our people, they would go and they would not target those military bases, but instead they would target a big building to cause the most harm, which is the most evil thing that you could possibly do. And of course, if we were to embed our military people that are being targeted by other countries within those towers that people live in, then it would be a war crime in itself, and we would be condemned by NATO, we would be condemned by every single country, because that's not how you do wars at all. And you can't hide behind humans. You can't hide behind regular civilians and use them as shields. It's just disgusting. And that's exactly what Hezbollah and that's exactly what Hamas does. So moving on to the next article, we actually have another terrorist was actually captured by French and German police, and this was linked to the other terrorist attack from Israel. Law enforcement officials in Germany and France arrested 2 Islamic foreign nationals in separate cases who were accused of carrying out terrorist attacks over the weekend in their respective countries. Approximately 200 police officers in France were searching for an individual who blew up 2 cars in La Grande Made on Saturday morning, tried to enter another building with a gun, and later set the building on fire, all while carrying the Palestinian flag. Local media said that the police arrested a 33-year-old Algerian man who was suspected of carrying out these terrorist attacks. Before the police could intervene, the suspect opened fire on the police, which returned fire, police said. The man was wounded in the face. A separate attack was carried out late Friday night in the German city of Solingen at the Festival of Diversity, a 3-day event celebrating the 650th anniversary of the city's founding, which is just disgusting that these people would target that event specifically, because if you're celebrating the Festival of Diversity, and you're actually celebrating diverse people, the 650th anniversary of the city's founding, they're going to target that day. I mean, it's just ridiculously stupid how they keep targeting these holidays, but God forbid if somebody was to target their holiday, it's a war crime. It's, how dare you do this on holiday? But then they do it countless times to other countries' holidays in celebrations. It's disgusting. Witnesses described the suspect of Arab-looking and said that they shouted Allah Akbar while stabbing 9 people, killing 3, which is just despicable. Police said that 4 of the 6 who survived remained in life-threatening condition. The suspect, a 26-year-old Syrian identified as LH, turned himself into authorities and took credit for the attack, NBC News reported. Police said that he shares the same terroristic ideology as ISIS, which he reportedly joined before the attack. Due to his radical Islamic belief, he tried to kill as many people as possible who he considered to be non-believers, which is just disgusting, because no matter which religion you are, I don't think that any religion would go and say, kill the person that doesn't believe in your religion. You didn't even give them a chance to actually introduce themselves to your religion. And this is the first time that they hear about your religion. I mean, if it's in the aspect of this, then yeah, I mean, this would be the first time that this person actually heard about this religion, and it's a bad look. So of course, when you're trying to convince people of trying to join your religion, doing this is not a good first impression of your religion whatsoever. So there he reportedly stabbed festival visitors repeatedly and deliberately in the neck and the upper body with a knife because he wanted to kill them. Israel claimed responsibility. I mean, ISIS. Oh my God, Israel. No. ISIS claimed responsibility for the terrorist attack, saying the perpetrator of the attack on the Christian gathering in the city of Spingen, Germany yesterday was a soldier from the Islamic State. Then he carried out as revenge against Muslims in Palestine and everywhere, which is just disgusting. Which I just don't get what these people are thinking in their mind when they're actually carrying out these attacks. Like, all of these terrorists, I just don't know what's actually going through their mind, because of the fact that how can you do such a despicable evil? It just does not make any sense. And moving on to the next thing here, we have Jon Stewart is actually talking about the Democrats' hypocrisy at the DNC. Now, of course, we've been talking about the Democratic hypocrisy for a little while now, but I think that it's actually worse than hypocrisy. If there is a word for it, I would say that it's just decisive. It's actually lying deliberately to the American people time and time again. They do not care about how many times they have to lie to the American people. They do not care if they're actually caught in the middle of lying. They do not care about any of that. And that's what the most upsetting part about all of this is that they do not care. That's the sad part. They do not care if they get caught. They do not care if you know that they're lying straight to your face. Do not care about any of that. And it's despicable that somebody would actually do these things. It's despicable that somebody would actually go out and lie to your face countless times after knowing the truth. They know that you know the truth, specifically about all of the times that they lied about Trump. Like, let's just say in the aspect of him calling white supremacists, quote, very good people on both sides. They know that that's a lie. It's been fact checked to be false by multiple people on the spectrum, on Democrat side, on Republican side, on conservative side, on independent side. It's been fact checked to be false. Trump never said this. It was taken out of context. And they would sit here and keep saying that over and over and over again and over and over and over again. They do not care if it's fact checked to be false. They're going to sit here and keep saying it and then claim that Republicans are the ones lying to America, which is just gaslighting, and it's decisive. It's just despicable. And yeah, that's why I say, if there was a word stronger than hypocrisy, then that is what the Democrats stand for. Decisiveness, despicable, being despicable towards the American people, and just outright lie, just a outright party of lies. They're built on a lie. The foundation for Democrats are built on a lie. The walls are made out of lies. The roof is made out of lies. And all you have to do is pick out one little thing and the whole entire house of cards just falls right down. It's sad. It really is that Democrats have to resort to this. And that's exactly why they need to resort to joy and manufacture joy instead of actual joy, because none of them actually have joy. All of the Democrats hate each other, but then they act like they actually do like each other when they're on the scene. So, moving on to what Jon Stewart said, comedian Jon Stewart, self-proclaimed comedian, I should say, slammed Democrats this week for the hypocrisy that was on display at the Democratic National Convention, the DNC. Stewart made these remarks on the Comedy Central The Daily Show on Thursday nights following the convention's conclusion. At the convention, they had union leaders and CEOs. They had the Democratic Party icons and lifelong Republicans, he said. They had a guy yelling, "Screw the billionaires," which was Bernie Sanders. It followed immediately by a very happy billionaire, of course. Stewart was referencing attacks from Senator Bernie Sanders in the subsequent remarks from Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker, who was a billionaire. It's okay if it's our billionaire, Stewart mockingly said of the Democrats. I don't like billionaires, but he's all right. Stewart then slammed Minnesota Governor Tim Walz for mocking J.D. Vance for going to Yale, while Democrats had multiple Yale graduates speak, including former president candidate Hillary Clinton, and Senators Cory Booker, Chris Coons, and Amy Kullenberger, which Stewart included in a graphic on the screen. The Democrats had people who prosecuted sexual predators, Stewart said, showing a photo of Democratic presidential nominee Vice President Kamala Harris, and he continued posting a photo of former President Bill Clinton, who was accused by multiple women of sexual crimes. Of course, because they're going to sit here and then actually reflect themselves onto Trump and J.D. Vance and all of these other people, when in reality, it's them that are actually doing this. And of course, when we look at the Kamala Harris campaign, the website is still lacking a policy platform after the start of the DNC. So Kamala Harris is supposed to be this just empty figure that you could just place all of your policies in, but she doesn't even have any policies. This is a Daily Wire article. The official campaign website for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz does not have a policy platform or a list of important issues even after the kickoff of the Democratic National Convention on Monday. KamalaHarris.com asked its supporters to join the campaign and chip in a donation to power our campaign, but notably absent from the website is a page explaining what the issues are most important for Vice President Kamala Harris. The campaign website only includes bios for Harris and Walz, a page where supporters can find campaign events near them, and a shop where supporters can purchase Harris's gear. Harris has been criticized for staying quiet on many of her positions after becoming the de facto nominee nearly 1 month ago. Politico reported that some Democratic lawmakers want Harris to wait until after the election victory to roll out her policy agenda, which does not even make any sense, because how are you voting? How are you, the citizen of America, going to vote for a person that you don't even know their policies? You don't know what she stands for. You don't know what Tim Walz stands for. You don't know anything at all, and you're just going to vote for her? What is her position on foreign policy? What is her position on actual fracking? Because she flip-flopped multiple times. What is her position on actually lowering the food costs for Americans? She sits here and the few times that she does talk about the food prices, she says that she's going to have price control. But price control is a communistic standard that multiple communistic countries tried and failed at because it crippled their economy and it made famine. So is this really what her policy position is? Because I highly doubt it, which, I mean, I hope that I doubt it, because if it does come into fruition, then we would be starving as American citizens. We would not be able to afford anything. Yes, prices would easily 100 times if Kamala Harris did want to put into price controls. You go to Costco and you want to find that hot dog for $1.50. No, it'd be $150. Our inflation would be so high that, yeah, I mean, maybe the price of a hot dog would go up to $50, but then after our dollar is valued at $0, then yeah, it's going to be 2 times easily. The dollar is now going to be worth $2. So, of course, it's going to 2 times the amount. And not only that, but then the price of hot dogs and everything else will go sky high. So, yeah, it could easily reach $100 with our inflation and our hot dog prices and our price controls that actually do not even fix the problem at hand. It's disgusting. And every single basic economist knows this because communistic countries tried this. This is not a new standard at which we're trying here and introducing. It is a standard that multiple people tried, multiple people failed at. So we need to learn our lesson. History is something that we should learn from and not implement again. It's something that we should look at, take notes from, and then not implement because it failed. So that's exactly why. The vice president announced her first policy proposal, no tax on tips, on August 10, 2 months after former President Trump proposed to eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. Last week, Harris announced more policies to address rising food and housing costs and was slammed by critics who accused her of essentially proposing a Soviet-style price controls on groceries, which obviously is not going to make anything better. As, quote, as president, I take on the high costs that matter most to Americans, that like the cost of food, Harris said last Friday. We all know that prices went up during the pandemic when the supply chains were shut down and failed because of your government. But our supply chains have now improved and prices are still high. Yes, that's because of the fact that they're making up for all of the costs from before, and our inflation is at sky high, so nobody can even do prices at the same exact rate anymore. A loaf of bread costs 50% more than it did before the pandemic. Ground beef is up about 50%. Yes, and this is why you should vote for Trump. Because if you look at before the pandemic, the economy was good. If you look at after the pandemic, we have inflation, we have sky-high prices here, we have nobody being able to afford anything. That's because of Joe Biden's policies. The spending continued after COVID, and it should not have. It should have been slashed. Yes, the spending of COVID should have never happened, but it did because of the economy. The economy needed to actually stay up, but we should have never even shut down the country. If we never shut down the country, then we would never went bankrupt. We would have never been able to actually pull out that much money because we wouldn't have had to. So yeah, the buck stops with the Democrats that wanted to shut down this country. And yes, Republicans did go along with the Democratic policies. That's because they didn't know any better, because the Democrats, just like how Dr. Fauci, the people at the forefront of this, was actually pushing these things. So yes, they wanted to trust these people because, of course, nobody has time to actually research where all these people come from and why they shouldn't trust these people. So these people looked like reasonable people, so they were believed. But of course, when you go and follow these people that always wanted power their whole entire life, they're going to go and milk the situation, and they're going to go and try to use as much power as they possibly can. It's disgusting. The Democratic Party nominee has also proposed that if elected, she will give the first-time home buyers $25,000 from the federal government to be a down payment on a house. Or who are the first-generational homeowners would get assistance for their first-time homeowners. ABC News reporter Selena Wong wrote on X after getting details about the proposal from the Harris campaign. The plan was ripped off by conservatives, including Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance, who argued Kamala Harris wants to give $25,000 to illegal aliens to buy American homes. This will only further exacerbate the housing shortage in our country. It's a disgrace, and we will be making it easier and more affordable for American citizens to buy houses. The DNC platform, which was approved by delegates on Monday, was also mocked for referring to President Joe Biden, not Harris, as the party's nominee. It's just been released. Democratic platform, they mentioned crooked Joe Biden's second term over 20 times, Trump wrote on Truth Social. It shows that the platform is not that important to them when they don't want to make the change. Of course, because of the fact that the policies between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are the exact same policy positions. So they're trying to sit here and act like it's different. It's really not. It's the same exact thing. It's just under a different name because of the fact that Joe Biden cannot run anymore because he was born in the dirt ages. He's almost 200 years old at this point. So, with that being said, we're going to be digging into the headlines of the week. So, digging right into the headlines of the week, we actually have a Federalist article. We have RFK Jr.'s speech wasn't Republican or Democrat, but it was American. The reasons Robert F. Kennedy Jr. gave for limiting his campaign and endorsing Donald Trump aren't matters of partisanship or policy, but a matter of survival for a constitutional republic. Robert Kennedy Jr. exonerated the Democratic Party, United States government, and our supposedly free press during his Friday press conference. Kennedy's announcement that he will remove his name as a candidate for president in swing stance and endorse Donald Trump brought cheers from Trump supporters and derision from Democrat diehards. But what does the alliance between Trump and Kennedy mean for the future of the Republican Party? Properly understood, nothing. Friday's speech was not about the policies of the grand old party any more than it was about whether Kennedy's old school Democrat belief system remained intact. As Kennedy acknowledged, he's been a furious critic of many of the policies during Trump's first administration, and the two will continue to have serious differences about the issues and approaches. Yet, an alliance would allow him and Trump to, quote, work together on the existential issues upon which we are in coordinates. Kennedy explained during his press conference last week the key existential issue Kennedy identified and the hopes he professed for our country transcend partisan politics and hearken to the days of our founding. Kennedy identified institutional corruption of both the government and the press, manifesting itself into government propaganda, a resort to censorship and media control, and the weaponization of the federal agencies as fundamentally threats to the country. Lawfare at the voting booth against both Trump and Kennedy further built the Democratic case for exiting the race. These compliments are not Republican or Democrat. Indeed, every American should be horrified by the weaponization of our government in the censorship industrial complex that converted the press from a check on our government to a co-conspirator. Whether peddling the Russia collusion hoax against Trump, censoring information about COVID-19 vaccines, or hiding Joe Biden's mental incapacity from the public, the press's complicity in interfering in both elections and governance leaves Americans with one clear choice: an electoral revolt against the parties responsible for the government's corruption. As Kennedy put it, when a United States president colludes with or outright coheres media companies to censor political speech, it's an attack on our most sacred right of free expression. And it's the right upon of which all of our other constitutional rights rest. Securing the border, protecting free speech, and getting the United States intelligence agencies out of the business of propagandizing and censoring this in surveying Americans and interfering with our elections. All pressing issues that Kennedy identified as reasons for his decision to suspend his campaign and endorse Trump aren't matters of partisanship or policy, but a matter of survival of our constitutional republic. And I completely agree with this. And that's exactly why it was so important for RFK Jr. to drop out and endorse Trump and join his team, because it would be so cool to have RFK Jr. be the head of the CDC. That's the ultimate slap in the face of Dr. Fauci, because of the fact that RFK Jr. knows how to actually research things and knows the facts of vaccines and has stood up for vaccine transparency all of his career. So to have him at the head of CDC, completely wipe out the CDC, make sure that it never has a chance to actually sprout again, and then go and be the head of the National Institute for Infectious Diseases, which was actually what Dr. Fauci was the head of, and then move over there and then completely redo it from the ground up, and then the FDI and then the FTC, that's exactly what RFK Jr. should be the head of. All of these organizations he's really strong at. And then we should have Elon Musk and all of these other people that know how to actually finance things be the head of the government expenditures and make sure that the government does not overspend and we can start paying our debt down. And yes, this means that people would pay a little bit less taxes now, but the spending also can't go up and beyond. And we need to make sure that we have a Republican in the House of Representatives, and we need to have a Republican in Congress to actually make sure that bills get passed that are actually lessening the spending so we're not adding to the national debt, because it's disgusting that we keep adding to the national debt without actually doing anything to help the problem here. We need to help the problem and not cause more of the problem. So, moving into the next article, we actually have the DNC has just been one long litany of stupid, obvious lies. Now, the biggest lie of all is that Vice President Kamala Harris bears no responsibility for Joe Biden's failed presidency. Of course, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are connected. You can't sit here and try to claim that Kamala Harris is a new figure and she has nothing to do with all of the old policies when she does. She's part of the other administration. It does not make any sense here. It almost goes without saying that, and this is a Federalist article, by the way, it almost goes without saying that what the Democrats are putting on at the DNC this week in Chicago is a simulation of democracy, a mimocracy of excitement and drama that might have come from deliberative process of the Democratic voters choosing their political candidate. None of it is real. The DNC has all the trappings of a major political party convention without any of the substance. Not a single Democrat voter cast a primary ballot for the Vice President Kamala Harris yet. Democrats are going through the mentions as if that's exactly what happened. Of course, Kamala Harris was actually rolled out and appointed to be the head of the Democratic Party. She wasn't actually voted in by any primary voters. She didn't have to face anybody else because she was appointed to that position. They even touted out President Joe Biden, the putative head of the Democratic Party, whose re-election campaign was abruptly ended by the party's bosses against his will, late on the first night of the convention. It was a mere formality. Biden delivered a slurred, angry speech full of lies and distortions, and then they stuffed him off to Santa Barbara for the rest of the week, rendering the sitting president a non-participant in his own party's convention, which is just the ultimate disgusting. And then he posts a picture on Twitter and with his TV in front of his fireplace, not even on the mantle, just in front of his fireplace. And then him and Joe Biden are just watching the TV like all uncomfortable. Like, this is just so fake. The people of America can just look right through this. But Democrats' fakery goes deeper than just pandering to a democratic process after excluding a co-op against the sitting president. The Harris-Walz campaign branding of, quote, joy, repeated this week ad nauseam by the propaganda press, is obviously fake and forced. By running a campaign against almost completely devoid of policies and substance of any real interaction with the news media, consisting mostly of staged videos of Harris and Walz yucking it up on the campaign trail or delivering speeches via teleprompter at highly controlled rallies. Democratic Party leaders are essentially running a psyop on the American electorate, of course, because of the fact that these people don't even know how to actually put on a speech from their head. Like Trump has some teleprompters, but he gets off the teleprompter, and the teleprompters that he has just guides him through the speech. Kamala Harris pays attention to the teleprompter and reads word for word what the teleprompter says the whole entire time, and she's like, the cat, and she's just reading from the teleprompter right there. Just like what Hillary Clinton used to do. But the thing is, Trump, on the other hand, yes, he has a teleprompter, but he goes off of his mind for most of his rallies. He says, look at this crap, guys. And if he did pay attention to the teleprompter, he wouldn't have been here today. But he makes these head motions that is really hard to track. And what he does is he actually speaks from his mind on what's going on throughout that day. A big part of the PSYOP is to lie and mislead brazenly about everything. On the opening night of the convention, Biden repeated the infamous, very fine people on both sides hoax and the suckers and losers hoax, both of which anyone can easily look up in about 30 seconds. He claimed that 500,000 new electric vehicle charging stations has been created under his administration. The actual number is 7. Among many of the blatant falsehoods, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker repeated the injecting bleach line about Donald Trump and COVID. Former President Barack Obama lied about Trump's tax cuts, claiming that they only benefited the wealthy, and how many jobs have been created under the Biden-Harris administration. Michelle Obama falsely claimed Trump wants to outlaw the IVF. Tim Walz was introduced as a command sergeant major, a rank he never achieved. And not to mention, he was also introduced as a captain, as a as a coach Tim Walz, which he was never actually a coach. He was a volunteer assistant coach. So yeah, so that's stolen valor from the military thing, and then it's also stolen valor from being a coach because he was never actually a coach. So everything about Tim Walz is fake. Everything about Kamala Harris is fake. Time and time again. The biggest lie of all, though, is that President Biden wasn't forced out of his re-election campaign in what amounted to a co-op last month, I should say. A key part of that lie was to downplay the fact that Harris is currently the vice president and president her instead as the new entrant to the race who brings new ideas and energy. But she's been in office for nearly 4 years now. Biden's failed policies and her failed policies. Democrats are caught in blind here. If they tout Harris as an integral part of the Biden-Harris administration, a trusted advisor, and a partner to the president who as VP was given responsibilities, how can they claim that she doesn't then bear responsibility for what happened while she was in office? Harris taking the stage and proclaiming that when I am president, I will bring the cost down on groceries, elds the reality that she's been in office since 2021. Of course. So if she wanted to do something, she could do something right now. If she's so committed to bringing down the cost of groceries, why hasn't she done something about it? Of course, I completely agree with this. Because if she did want to do something about it, she would tell Joe Biden, listen, sign this. I'm going to put this bill on your desk. I'm going to work with the House of Representatives and Congress to lower the cost. And then she can run on that. She can literally run on that. But she does not care enough to actually do that. If she fixes all the problems, Trump has nothing to even say about Kamala Harris. If she says, listen, we're going to shut down the border, we're going to build this wall, she literally, if she spray paints herself orange, turns into Trump's policies, and just copies all of Trump's policies right now, what would Trump even have to say about that? He would have absolutely nothing. So if anything, she stances, if you were to look at this logically speaking here, she should do this. Strategically speaking, on Kamala Harris's part, she should right now copy all of these policy positions that she actually wants to do, and then she's gonna sit here and say, I got this done for the American people, and lie about it. Do this for the next 5 months. Let me just see here, because now September, October, November. Do this for the next 3 months. All that you have to do is do this for 3 months. And Trump has nothing to say about it because she's actually getting the job done. If she faked it till she made it for the next 3 months, then she could possibly win this election. And I don't want her to win the election. So listen, don't take my advice. But what I'm saying is, if she was actually wanting to get this done, which she's lying in the face of Americans right now, if she actually wanted to get this done, then she would do so now. But she does not want to get it done, and it's a big lie. If she did want to get it done, then she would do it right now. She does not want to do it right now. As vice president, she has the voting power in Congress to actually get bills passed or not passed. If it was a 50-50, which it did happen with the infrastructure bill. She got it passed because she was the ultimate vote. If she did want to get a bill passed, she can go to Joe Biden and say, listen, I want to get this bill passed. It's going to be good for my presidency, and I want you to go along with it. And Joe Biden would say, okay, I'll go along with it, because what does he have to lose at this point? He's already out. What does he have to lose? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. If Kamala Harris was to go up to him tomorrow and say, try to pass this bill, try to get Congress to pass this bill. Yeah, Joe Biden can actually say, listen, I want my fellow Democrats in Congress to craft a bill, and I want to pass it. And obviously Republicans would agree with it because it's Donald Trump's positions. Trump would have nothing to actually attack Kamala Harris on. But instead, she wants to act like a fool, and she wants to sit here and lie to the American people and act like she's not in charge right now. It's just a big slap in the face. And that's why I get so annoyed. It's because of the fact that I know that these people can get the job done right now, but they don't want to. And the Democrats would instead want to just sit here and focus on ruining the country, which is a big slap in the face, because as much as I don't like the Democratic Party, I love America. I love America so much. I have this flag in back of me, and I salute the flag. I respect the flag, and I respect America, and I love America. America is the best country. I wanted to prosper, and I know that Republicans will actually do what they say, and that's exactly why I am a Republican. I am voting for Donald J. Trump. Democrats have to admit this fact. If she did want to get it done, she would get it done right now. With that being said, we're going to sum up this episode here. If you did like this episode and you do want to see more, I do post new episodes of this show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. Bye.